7. Yeah, she's here. 7:10. Roll call, 7:10.
You guys ready to go?
Yes, yes, sorry.
Okay.
one second.
Jay, you ready?
Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Martin,
Here.
Miss Doherty,
Here.
Miss Fattacante.
Here.
Mr. Leahy,
Here.
Mr. Leary,
Here.
Miss Martin,
Here.
Mr. McHugh.
Here.
7 present.
7 present. The first item on the agenda this evening, we have 2 special orders of business. First is the presentation of a gift from the Lowell 99 restaurant. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the manager of the Lowell 99 restaurant, Mr. Larry Cusolito, is here tonight. The 99 restaurant has recently updated its facility, and it is its custom to hold a silent auction of some of the interior wall hangings, and then make a decision about a donation. And in this case, we're delighted to report that Mr. Cusolito and the staff are donating half of that to a local group, and that local group this year is the Lowell Public Schools. And so I would like to invite Larry Cusolito to.
Good evening. Thank you very much. This whole idea originated out of one of our restaurants when we went to rebrand it, and a lot of interest was shown in the wall plaques, so they decided to hold an auction and sell the items. And they contacted our marketing department and said, okay, well, we can auction these items off. What are we going to do with the funding? So the executive board at our home office came up with the concept, well, we're involved with the Boys and Girls Clubs in all our communities that we're in, so let's donate a portion to them. And then they said, with the struggles that communities are facing with their budgets, especially the schools, wouldn't it be a great idea if we could help them out in some small way? So what they decided is 2/3 of the proceeds of the auctions are going to the school, and 1/3 is going to the local Boys and Girls Club. And we were very happy with the results of ours. I think at the time when I met Jay, we had raised about $4,800, but since then we've had some late contributors, and it's just over $5,000, $5,037. So we have that for you tonight, and thank you. So if somebody wants to take these proceeds. So I'll put that up somewhere. You're more than welcome to. It shows just a big check for what the original amount was. Okay.
And so
Very nice.
that's the big check. These are the little real ones.
And we, like I said,
Thank
we
you very
like
much.
to belong to all the communities that we're in, and we hope to be able to do some more things in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Now those little checks, there wouldn't be any gift certificates for steak tips in there, would there?
That's how they come up with the money for the donation.
Oh, okay, all right.
Madam Superintendent,
If
Mr. Leary.
The motion that the committee would need to do is to accept the gift from the Lowell 99 restaurant for student-related activities and to be placed in the K-8 Student Activity Fund.
So moved, Your Honor.
So moved by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Fattacante. Mr. Leary.
Just real quick, too, I want to also point out that one of our student activities folks at the high school, Jill McNamara, actually brought over I know they had pictures that they auctioned off that we derived that nice benefit from, but Jill McNamara and folks over at the high school actually brought over some yearbook pictures regarding pre-yearbook pictures a couple of years ago of local Lowell athletes and students and activities of athletics that will be going on the walls of the 99 in addition to other communities. So, I think it's real excellent that we're going to continue to have Lowell students on the wall over there, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call on the motion to accept the gift from the 99 restaurant of $5,037.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Larry.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
7 yeas, the motion is approved. The next special order of business is the introduction of the new principal, Stephen Gross of the Stocklosa Middle School. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, as is our custom when a new principal is named in Lowell, that person comes before the school committee to formally be introduced to the committee and the community. And I'm pleased to welcome Stephen Gross. Stephen, this past year, has been assistant principal at the Robinson Middle School. Prior to that, he worked in the western part of the state as a mathematics teacher, a health educator, and for several years as a dean of students and as vice principal at West Springfield High School, where he had the responsibility of developing what was called their Terrier House, but it's a ninth grade academy, a freshman academy at West Springfield High School. He was charged with the responsibility of leading the development of that. And I just recently learned that the New England Association of Schools and Colleges has named that freshman program, Terrier House, at West Springfield High School as one of its model programs. Steve is an energetic, serious educator who did a wonderful job at the Robinson Middle School last year, and we have great hopes for his effective leadership of the Stocklosa School, our newest facility, but the faculty of one of our oldest and most proud middle schools. So I'd like to introduce and welcome Stephen Gross.
Thank you very much. And I was told that I should really focus on being brief, and I can promise you that I will. The last 3.5 weeks have gone by very, very fast for me. I have had a chance to sit down with some of our faculty members, and I can assure you that the school is a wonderful place to work and learn. I'm very, very excited to be there. And I look forward to working with you folks in the next years and months to come. Certainly this is a long-term goal of mine. I'm really glad it's here. And I certainly look forward to servicing the students of Lowell in the future. So thank you all again.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Gross, and we wish you the best of luck. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the school committee meeting of July 18th. Motion approved by Ms. Fattacante, second by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. There are several items under permission to enter. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I recommend the committee authorize entering into the following contracts. First, with Youth Opportunities Unlimited for $69,992 for the out-of-district tuition costs for one student out of this year's special education budget for tuition. The EDCO Collaborative, $114,148, and this is to amend the dollar amount for this contract. Same funding source of the special education tuition account from our local budget. The Colburn School, $64,091, again, tuition for one student who is enrolled in receiving services. The Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative, this is to provide home-based services, mobility training, and occupational therapy services according to student special education plans, $75,000. This would be funded by the Special Education Department budget, a combination of local and grant funds. And C. Lynn Chambers, $10,000 to provide staff training for teachers involving assistive technology instruments for special education students. Again, provided in this case fully by grant funds awarded to our special education department.
Any questions on any of those items? Motion approved by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
7 yeas, those items are approved. We have one item under memorials. Where Ms. Fattacante has requested a memorial be offered for John Murphy, the brother of Nancy Giblin, Secretary for the United Teachers of Lowell. If we could rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers in Mr. Murphy's memory.
Oh, thank you, ladies, I appreciate it.
May he rest in peace.
Thank you.
Okay, there is one item under unfinished business, the permission to post a middle school crisis intervention specialist. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the committee delayed action at the July meeting in posting this position pending receipt of the job description and the posting. Attached is that description. Just to reiterate, this is a position that we're seeking authorization to post and fill in place of a position that's in the budget and funded in the budget of middle school guidance counselor. I would ask for authorization.
Ms. Fattacante.
Thank you, Your Honor. So no other funding, other than the funding required for the middle school position, will be needed for this position?
I believe there's a $4,000 or $5,000 differential between this position and the middle school, so there's a modest increase.
And through Your Honor to the superintendent, where will we be getting that money from?
We're anticipating that there have been that the resignations that we have received in the summer slightly exceeded our expectations, so there should be some differential in that in the salary account in student services.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on this? Motion approved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
7 yeas, that matter is approved. I don't believe we have anything under public participation, so that brings us to the motions. The first motion is offered by Mr. Leary and Mr. Leahy jointly. The motion is to request the superintendent provide an updated status on the reorganization of the Parent Information Center. Status should include recommendations to the Lowell School Committee regarding cost-saving opportunities while ensuring superior customer service to both parents and staff personnel. Status should also include a review with recommendations for potential changes to the current student school placement policy. The emphasis would reflect placement changes with student residency location as an important priority, where any possible changes would fall within the current or any new potential new agreement with the Massachusetts Department of Education and the Lowell Public Schools. Second by Mr. McHugh. Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, this is something that the superintendent and I have discussed, and committee member Leahy have discussed numerous times. I think that the first part of this lengthy motion reflects reorganization in terms of finding cost savings where possible. That's something I think as a school department, linking ourselves up very much like a successful business would be, is something we need to do to every department. This is just one more in an effort to do that. I think in the area here, because this is our patient information center, it's the initial stages where parents and ultimately our children, our students, come through before they even get to the school. So we need to ensure that we're having superior service as well. So I think that part is the most important. I think the other parts of the motion not only speak for themselves, but they also go in line with the Voluntary Desegregation Act that we just received this information this Friday, and I'm going through it as leisurely reading at night, and it is something that puts you to sleep quickly. But I think this is stuff that's very important. I think that this is a step where we can not only have cost savings, but also hopefully improve our current policy where allowed by law. And I think there is some need for improvement in areas. Definitely areas we need to emphasize is communication. We really need to articulate to parents that here's all your options that are within picking and choosing a school. And here's how that option lists. And there's maybe some other things we may derive from this. One of them, maybe we may just simply list numbers of students at particular schools where they align themselves in numbers in terms of 1 through 6's certain names. We may not do that. I think this is something we're looking forward to the superintendent to provide some insight towards, and to the assistant superintendent, Ann Murphy, to help us improve a system that is of utmost importance. And I think if we can have a cost savings in line with that, that's something we need to start thinking of, because the money is, as we know, is very tight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I just want to add my comments to this. I think as, excuse me, as my colleague said, that as in every department, we should always look at it annually to see if there are any cost-saving opportunities. Personally, I feel that they're a little bit understaffed, but right now, we are doing the best we can under the budget constraints, and so it's always good to take a look at that. I'm more interested in the second half of the motion, where I think we need to look at more kids should be able to get into their school closest to their residency. So, and I know we have a lot of people that are moving around. I'm not, you know, if you move during the year, then you have to accept it that, you know, the schools may be full. But I think during the summer months when people move from neighborhood to neighborhood, we should be able to maybe tweak the system a little bit better. You should be able to go to your closest school first of choice. And second of all, I think what we do here in Lowell is sometimes we try to accommodate as many people as we can. And if they have babysitting troubles, or someone's got to pick them up after school, an aunt or a grandmother or somebody like that, I think that we have to take a good hard look at that and say, look, people who live closest to their elementary school, their middle school, have to get priority. And then if we can help you out with accommodations after that, then I think that's what we should be doing. But and this year we got rid of some of the portables. Enrollment's down. This is going to be a tricky start for us this year. But I do feel that we don't have so-called neighborhood schools right now. But you should be able to get into your first choice, your school that's closest to you. So I think that's something we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Federicanti?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would agree with the makers of the motion. The first step into a Lowell Public School building should provide the person with superior customer service, because that is going to give the flavor of the next 12 years of education for that child and those parents. And I have to tell you that I have had people call me about the Parent Information Center, and what they complain about is not customer service, which is unbelievable, but it's there are different issues, and there are issues that impact our city every day. And I think that they're unfortunate issues, but they're never issues about customer service. The unfortunate reality is I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm angry. And that's, or I didn't get to talk to the woman I went in there to talk to, so I'm angry. Or I didn't like the person I had to talk to, but it's never been about how I was treated. So I think that is a big plus for us. The second part of the motion, I think that I would agree. I think that we need to look at our delivery of service. And our delivery of services to children, I mean, that's our grouping, our delivery of services to youngsters. So in that light, Your Honor, I do know that we had a motion on this agenda the last time we met. and we did ask that we have a meeting with with your subcommittee. So I would ask if the makers of the motion would also like to include at least the bottom half of this motion to go to that subcommittee. And here's my other suggestion, Your Honor. While I do have some historical knowledge of 20 years ago, when I was 18 years old, I barely remember it, but I think that, I know, somebody just fell off their chair behind me, but I think it would behoove us to have former Superintendent Sapasaris also be at that meeting, because I think that he can answer any and all questions that any member of this committee has or any member of the public has, because he, along with former Mayor Dick Howe, negotiated what became a voluntary compliance plan, which was almost not a voluntary compliance plan. So maybe it would even be helpful to me to sort of remember exactly what we went through to get to that original plan. And then if the superintendent's office would then supply us with, I think there have been 3 changes that we have asked Department of Ed to allow us to enter into. So if you would supply us with those 3 changes and indicate how those changes impacted the plan, because I think that one of the changes impacted the plan, Mr. Leahy, by allowing for streets closer to the school to get first preference. If I'm recalling correctly, I think it was a motion by Mr. Golden. So I think that would be very helpful for us to have some historical knowledge, so that if we make a change to the plan, we do so in the framework of the changes that we've already made, so that they best suit our students. But I too agree. When you walk into the Parent Information Center, it is the first point of contact, and it needs to be be of the utmost service. So I think Dr. Che should be involved in having those discussions with us, because she, of course, is operating that Parent Information Center, and what happens in there really gives the flavor of what your next 12 years is going to be like. So I would also think that she'd want to probably be involved in that. So maybe the bottom half of this motion, the review of the recommendations for potential changes, needs to be incorporated in your meeting, Your Honor, which you might be able to call within the next month or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
Just real quick, and I think that's, my colleague has excellent points, and I don't think this motion circumvents anything that we're doing, and I think it actually kind of puts another type of pinpoint focus in an area that we need to look at. And this is going to take, it's going to take some time, and I think all the folks that are involved, from Assistant Superintendent Murphy right down to the, the clerk's information would be highly valuable. So I think this is something that doesn't circumvent what my colleague stated. I think this should go to that committee, and that's fine with me. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes, very brief. I don't want to repeat what's already been said. I agree with everything that we have discussed so far. I just would like to add, from my historical perspective, which has only been brief, in the last 4 years, I believe the Parent Information Center the staff has been cut by 50%. And I think I agree with what was said earlier about how important the service is to our parents and our families. And I think as we go forward, I'm all in favor of cost savings whenever we can come up with it, but I would really be looking at delivering a superior service as the primary concern, and also developing a policy that lives within the law, but still is true to our values of having a diverse community in our schools. That's, well, at least for me personally, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but that would be something that's also important to me. But we have cut the staff by 50% since 2003, and we still, have the same number of families with the needs that they present. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved, and we'll call a meeting of the task force as soon as we can get all the appropriate parties assembled. Subcommittee reports. The first subcommittee report is of the Facility Subcommittee, approval of the minutes of the July 18, 2007 meeting. Mr. Leahy.
Yes, I believe at this time we just need to approve the meetings.
Right,
but
I think we did get the report.
Sure. I would ask if you indulge me, if I could have a couple minutes just to comment, because I didn't make the meeting. Thank you. I had a little bit of a surfing injury, so I couldn't make the meeting last time. But I looked through the agenda, and I was happy. Thank you. I was happy with the first agenda item, the telephone service. We're moving ahead on that for all the schools. The number 3, the school maintenance plan, that's what I wanted to speak about. I had a couple comments. We got a lot of work done this summer, and it looks like we're finishing up a lot of work right now. But I did have one comment after watching some of the requests made by the city council last night on the crosswalks. And this has kind of always been a thing with me and with everybody, but I know we had a motion on, and I believe by myself and maybe Ms. Doherty, about crosswalks. And I had a question about whether or not we're going to get them all in by the start of school. One concern was the Pine Arts School, which we needed cutouts to properly install some crosswalks, and that request has been in since April. So I did want to ask you, Mayor, I know you guys, I know last night at the city council meeting you were talking about crosswalks, but is there any way we could at least sit down with somebody, or does the request just have to go to the city side and then we wait for an answer for crosswalks, or is there any way we could expedite it by having some sort of a general meeting and get a few crosswalks that are needed on Boylston Street? Because right now we have 2 crosswalks, but they go into an embankment. They should be down the street going off the curb onto, I think it's Calvin Street and I'm going to get the streets wrong, but Berwick Street. That's where the kids cross, and that's where they go into that neighborhood. So the crosswalk should be over there for their safety, not right across the street from the school. And I guess I would, I'd request that those get done as soon as we could, if we can expedite them. And the only other question I had, last night it was brought up at the city council meeting with the signage too. And I know that I'm annoying a lot of people about this, but at the Sullivan School, I just wanted to have a couple of signs put up that said, school zone 20 miles per hour. And I know this has been going on for a long time. They put 3 signs up on the street that say, go slow children. And that's fine. If that's the way it has to be, then that's the way it has to be. But I look at the other schools, and we have, it's just inconsistent. You go to any of these schools, and the signage just doesn't match up. So I think we should have some sort of consistency for signage at the schools. And the goal is basically just to slow the traffic down. So if we could, anything you could help us on that would be greatly appreciated. And the only other thing I wanted to mention about the facilities subcommittee meeting that I missed is I was very happy to see the work order system. It seems to be 100% work. It's working 100% better than it ever has been. And I think our head custodians at the schools are happy with it. I think Mr. Lang's happy with it. So I'm glad that that's finally up and running properly. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh?
Just briefly, I know one of the items was the discussion regarding the old Butler School, and I would just like to make a suggestion that we get a meeting scheduled in early September to get that discussion moving forward. So we're going to have to take some action regarding that piece of property and the plan. So if you could ask June to start polling members, it might be helpful to get a meeting going in early September, possibly. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Leahy, happy to expedite those matters. I would suggest the way to expedite them is not to try and call a meeting of 12 people. That's going to take 3 weeks to arrange. But I think between last night's discussion and tonight should be sufficient to get some movement on the crosswalk issue and the signs. Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Mr. McHugh, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor of accepting the report, say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Under reports of the superintendent, we have several items. First is concerning the Lowell Community Health Center award. Madam Superintendent.
Yes. Earlier this month, Lowell Community Health Center made awards to several community partners. The Lowell Public Schools earned 2 of those awards, one for the collaboration with Lowell Community Health for our school-based health clinics that we have at the high school, the Rogers School, and Stocklosa Middle School, and the second for the partnership with adult education. And I accepted those awards on behalf of the school committee.
Thank you. Any questions on those awards? Ms. Martin?
If I could just, briefly add, I mean, I do think that the clinics that we have operating in our schools are just an enormous benefit for our students. And I think that this partnership, I realize it's been in place for many years, and sometimes it's great when these kind of awards happen that you have a chance to kind of look back and see the progress and see the real impact that these initiatives have. But you literally have 50% of the students, and I'm reading this right from the memo here, our students rely on the Lowell Community Health Center for their health care. And our ability to give them space within our schools and be able to make them part of our school community has made them more effective at reaching students and getting them critical services. I mean, absolutely critical, whether you're talking about diagnostics or just ongoing, medical care. So I think it's a remarkable partnership that has really certainly grown, and that I think is really, it speaks volumes about the way the Lowell Public Schools and our community partners can work together to palpably improve the quality of life for our students. So I congratulate the school department and the Lowell Community Health Center for the work that they've done on that behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, if I could just add to that, I agree with what was said. I also think the Adult Education Center, once again, has shown itself as a model by partnering with the Lowell Community Health Center and working with our adults, and that they received, I believe it's $20,000. I left the memo at home, a $20,000 grant from the state that reaffirms that the work they are doing is making a difference with our adults in the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. All those, motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. Fedicante, second by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor of accepting the report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next is the report on the Sapasaris Elementary School. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have the correspondence here as a report of our response to a requirement of the school building assistance group in the department, at the state, that we prioritize our building needs. As the letter in here explains, was such a huge number of requests turned in by the July 30th deadline for school building projects in the Commonwealth. The SBAB asked that it's now called MSBA, sorry, MSBA, asked every community to identify its top priority. This was actually good for us because the way we were required to submit for the Sapasaris School, we needed to identify the two schools, the Moody and the Varnum. That was possibly interpreted as being two separate projects. So the requirement that we identify our priority gave us an opportunity to clarify that it's a single project we're asking for that will impact our two oldest schools. And we moved forward with identifying, we had to pick one school that it was going to most impact. We identified the Varnum because, of course, that's the school that the state has identified as the school in Lowell in the worst condition. So it helps us. We think it will help our application and have us hopefully be higher on the list. But welcome any questions from the committee.
Any questions or comments? Motion to accept the report.
Motion to accept, Your Honor.
Ms. Fedicante, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next report is on facilities, I believe.
The facilities report was really incorporated in the Sapasaris report and the earlier minutes from the facilities subcommittee. So we can go on to the personnel report and the list of eligible teachers, and you have those, you provided with those reports this evening.
Any questions on either of those reports?
Move
Ms.
approval
Dodd?
on the personnel report, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Taking them both together.
I had a question about the facilities report. I thought you were going to be giving us an update on what's been done, but can I just ask a question on that, or? On the not completed tickets that we received, I spoke with Mr. Lang today, and he pointed out that was from June 30th, and I got a call from a teacher at the Robinson School, saying that many of the bubblers were not working, the water bubblers, and asking if that was something that was going to be done by the time school started. And I guess my question was really through you to Mr. Lang, if he was able to find anything out about that situation. As we go forward, will we have some of these plumbing issues completed for the start of school? And I know that there's only a certain amount of control we have over that, but.
Right. Thank you. By the, at the point in time which I talked to at the end of the day, I was not able to get a hold of the proper person at DPW to figure that out. I did, the reports themselves, the quarterly report, which I plan on giving to the facility subcommittee and then having it forwarded to the full committee, is going to contain those 2 reports every 3 months. It's going to be the list of projects that were completed over that 3-month time span, and then there are always going to be projects where work tickets have just been entered that are going to be in progress. So there'll be 2 reports. One will be the completed work, and then one will be the ones that are in progress. And what we're hoping to actually do is be able to benchmark between reports. So take a look at the 4th quarter report, anything that was open between April 1st and June 30th, and then compare it to summer work that happened, July, August, and September. And I think you're always going to see those 2. They're always going to be open tickets because there's requests that go in daily to have work done at the different schools. With regard to, in general, I can tell you with regard to a lot of the plumbing issues in the schools, the summer is time when they actually do get caught up on a lot of those issues. And I will in the FYI packet on Friday just update you on the bubblers in particular at the Robinson. But I do know that a significant amount of work was done this summer. So I think you're going to see a significant number of those. I think there's about 400 tickets that were still open at the end of June, be completed for the September report.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. I just would like to follow up on that. It was 448 that were not completed. I know many of them are plumbing, toilets that are overrunning, things like that, some of them items opened since early April, which, I know the city is doing the best they can, and I have to kind of reiterate what my colleague said earlier about we've got a system in place now that really provides us with up-to-date data to keep track of it. And I realize every day there's going to be new facility issues that come up, but I guess I just wanted to put that flag out there, in particular with the plumbing issues that, urinals overflowing, things like that, that really, if we identified it in April, I'm hoping that by September or August when the kids come back, that these priority things will be able to be taken care of. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further on facilities then? All right.
Accept the report.
Accept the report as a report of progress. So moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Personnel report is in the packet. Motion to accept by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. We need a roll call?
No.
All those in favor of accepting the personnel report, I'm sorry, Ms. Martin, do you want to speak on that?
I just wanted to ask a quick question as we're kind of going in. Obviously, as we look at this report every meeting, it's certainly a very impressive list as we're heading into the next school year with a lot of new hires. And I know that this is the time of year where the personnel department is going great guns to try and fill all of the open positions. If we could just get just a brief report on where we stand this year in terms of being ready for the doors to open in about 3 weeks.
Very briefly, as of today, we have 11 positions to fill in the entire system, so we're doing very well. That includes the high school, elementary, and middle school. So the principals have done great work in hiring throughout the summer, and interviews are ongoing, and we are working feverishly to get everyone signed in and ready to go for the first day of school.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. Since we're on the issue of the personnel report, I did have a question. I don't know if it should go through the superintendent or to Ms. Mulligan, but which I think you're doing a great job. But I did have a question I did want to ask. We hired someone for assistant principal at the Rogers School, at the Robinson School. And I've had this discussion with Union B. Are we not getting people to apply from within? I mean, it seems to be a misconception out there that you can't get hired if you live in Lowell. But are people actually applying, or are they not applying for some of these positions? I mean, is that something we could talk about? Because, I mean, I feel if someone's applying from within, they're getting they're getting looked at. But sometimes we get these resumes and, you know, it might be two people from the system, not from Lowell, but from the Lowell public school system, and then maybe two people from other school systems. So, you know, I don't like it when I hear that, you know, people don't get a fair shake. I think they are, but
We, in the personnel office and in the Lowell Public Schools, we use the same process that has been used for many years in Lowell. It's a personnel selection process where a panel is convened to interview those people who have applied for the position. It varies by position, whether we have people from within apply. The panel reviews the qualifications of the folks who have applied, and people are selected for interviews based upon their qualifications. It's a very, I feel it's a very fair process. We have a number of people who are involved in the personnel selection committee, and interviews are conducted. Finalists are recommended to the superintendent, and then final interviews are conducted and a recommendation is made.
right. So, I mean, it bothers me that, you know, people say we're not hiring from within, but if people don't apply, we can't do anything about it. And for whatever reason, we may not get a lot of people from our own system to apply for certain positions. But, I mean, we've tried to make it clear from this committee that it's a priority to help people. If they want to move up, we'll assist them. But just lately, I've heard a few comments that, you know, we're not giving breaks, or we're not hiring from within. But, I mean, I feel we are, and I just want to make sure that, you know, that we still give opportunity to people within our system, as we always did, right? Sure.
Just a couple of comments. We have certainly taken seriously the importance of providing opportunities for promotion for people within the system. We had an administrative apprentice program that we were able to establish back in 2002. That program, and then we lost funding. But out of that initial program, the current principal at the Robinson School was a graduate of that program. One of the housemasters at the high school was a graduate of that program, and I don't have the list right in front of me, but several other people wound up with positions, administrative positions here in Lowell from that. We've worked with the committee in the last, a year ago during the budget process to identify a different kind of apprentice program, a lower cost one that matched our more limited resources. And so we have, I believe, 10 members of our staff in that program. It's a 2-year program, and it's an opportunity for them to have field experience with administration. That is, for example, most of the apprentices in the current program ran one of the summer school programs this summer, or an extended time program, so that they've been able to gather that experience. We've been able to put them in a situation where they can get constructive feedback about areas that they need to grow. They participate in a seminar a monthly seminar that we've set up for them, so that we're trying to support people. I'm sure we'll want to start a second cohort for the apprentice program as well. I think the situation we find ourselves in is there probably are fewer applicants in general for administrative positions. That's not just in Lowell. It's actually throughout Massachusetts. There are fewer numbers of applicants from within system as well as from outside system for positions. In Lowell, whenever two candidates are in the judgment of the people that I meet with, of the finalists that we are given by the panels, whenever two people are comparable in match for the position goes to the local, the inside candidate as a promotion. So we're working hard to have a good balance in the administrative positions as we fill them folks that have come up from within the system, and then there are times when we need to go outside the system to get the right match for a particular position.
Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make two quick comments and a request, if I could. First, my personal feeling is I think that geography is not the primary concern, although obviously if we can get someone who lives in the community, that person is going to be more committed to our community. So I would prefer to have the most qualified candidate, but as the superintendent mentioned, if the qualifications are equal, I would always opt for the local candidate. Secondly, I think the perception of that we're not hiring local people is not the reality. And I'm just going to use this one basis to back that up. I looked at the number of new hires that we got this week. We have 37 new hires, most of them teachers, granted, but 37 new hires. 16 of them are Lowell residents. If you include Wilmington, Tewksbury, Chelmsford, Westford, and Drake, that adds another 10. So, I mean, I consider those local people too. Obviously, Lowell would be right in the community. So 16 of the 37 live in Lowell, another 10 who are right bordering Lowell. That's of the 37 new hires, 26 of them are Lowell local people. So those are my two comments. My request is that we ask the superintendent to provide a personnel report to this committee, and not right away. I know we've got to get those other 11 people hired before school starts, but a personnel report that analyzes the new hires, and let's say over the last 5 years, since we've had that apprentice program in 2002, and I know we have not been able to keep the funding to do this kind of internal building of skills that we'd like, but we've tried to keep it up somewhat. But that would analyze our new hires over the last 5 years, looking at how many people have been able to benefit from these professional development programs that we have in-house. So how many people have moved up the ladder, as the superintendent mentioned off the top of her head, as well as how many people from within Lowell have joined our school system. And maybe we'll find out there is some reality. Maybe there is a trend that we're going more outside, and maybe that can be explained by a shortage in administrators or, teaching staff, whatever, but I think I would prefer to have actual facts in front of me instead of hearsay, talk about we're not hiring, you can't get a job in the Lowell school system if you live in Lowell, and it's really not, it's perception. We don't know how much of it is true. So I would make that in the form of a motion to ask for a report. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but that really analyzes what have been our hiring practices and how many people have been promoted from within and have been able to take advantage of the professional development that we have been able to offer, and to really kind of look at it from a factual perspective. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
So moved by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Mr. Leary.
Just quick, one thing, Madam Superintendent, you didn't point out, what I think is one of the new programs that the school committee just put through this year is the associate intern for the associate housemaster position, which 4 individuals right out of Lowell High School will be selected. And I think there's an application's already been accepted, or they're still being accepted. I believe there'll be a committee of folks from the high school, the housemaster, the headmaster, housemasters who they will be assigned to will be a large part of hiring these folks, who are coming directly right out of the high school. So there's all, in addition to the 10 apprentice programs that exist K through 8, there's 4 new that the committee put in place, this committee put in place for this year. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes, I'd just like to echo, I guess it does become a little frustrating. I think this committee as a whole, in one form or another, all have been involved with this discussion over the years. And I think, I recall sitting here one night asking Ms. Duggan about a program which we started, Grow Our Own Teachers, I called it. And that was the paraprofessional program that we actually started, and actually we've had a number of people go through that program as part of their professional development, as part of night school, and then complete their teacher's certification and become actual teachers in the city of Lowell. I think let's go back in history. That's been a number of years that we started that. We actually have every year now people coming through that program to become teachers that were paraprofessionals. So I think the misnomer out there about, this, we don't hire from within, if you don't live in Lowell, don't apply. I think that's not true. And I think the report that Ms. Doherty asked for will start to show that we're actually getting success with these programs. I think we talked about marketing the Lowell school system to get the best people, and I think that's still important, but also as they do the auditorium and trying to get people from Lowell to come and apply that live in Lowell that might work in another district as well, because I agree, if you live in Lowell, you're going to have a vested interest in this school system. It's not about just let me, go to another school district. Why travel if you can work in a nice city and that has all the challenges and all the rewards that it does have for professional growth as well. And I think the administration program exactly was in place. Unfortunately, we had Mr. Murphy come out through it. We've had other people go through that program and have success. I mean, unfortunately, I'd like to also suggest in the future that we have a new category, not just called new hires, but maybe promotions or maybe a different title, but something other. Like, for example, Steve Gross is on a new hire list. He works for us. It's a promotion as an assistant principal to a principal. Unfortunately, like his address, he lives out of town, but he's in our system, and yet he's going to be promoted. So I think that's important for us to maybe have that as a new category. It may not always be someone, but there's going to be times that maybe a paraprofessional next year becomes a teacher, and so it just doesn't come through as a new hire. It comes through as an employee who is now moving up through our system. So I would recommend, I don't think I need to put in a motion, but that maybe in the future, if there are those type of positions, they're listed separately so we could actually see that, and it'll come to your eyes. Because I think that is important, that actually there is the opportunity here. If people don't want to take advantage of that, there's nothing we can do about that. But if someone wants to get involved, somebody wants to advance their career ladder and move up to hopefully become a principal someday, the opportunity is there. And I think we do our best to try to hire from within. I think we do the best to try to hire people from Lowell. And I think that there is some misinformation out there, and there's been a lot of programs that have been put in place by this committee over the years to address that, and I think we'll still continue to keep our eye on it, because I agree. It's nice to reward people that live here that will have that vested interest, so they're not just driving in to work and then out of town and see you later. So I would always feel that we can do our best, and we could probably do more to improve it, and maybe over this year we come up with some more ideas to make this even a better way to get people that live in Lowell to become educators or administrators. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Ms. Fataconte?
Thank you, Your Honor. As I go through this list, there are a great deal of people from the community that are on the list. But I don't know how a special ed teacher who lives in Sandwich is going to make it to work every day. I'm not asking, I'm making a statement here. And here's the issue, Your Honor. I think that it's great when we see teachers, many paraprofessionals from the area. But I think the issue that many of us are talking about are upper level positions. And when we see that they are not from the district, or they've only been in their positions for 2 years, now they're going to come to Lowell. And I left a note for the superintendent. I said, well, the person's from out of town, but they've never been in any position longer than 2 years, so I guess we don't have to worry about this for very long. But that's the perception, that the people who are hiring for principalships and for upper-level positions are from out of town, because we see the addresses. And so for my colleagues to say that there are lots of Lowell people, but they're teachers. And the issue is, do you ever get past teacher to get to the administrative piece of the pie? And that's what I think that we're concerned about. Do people get to go up the career ladder here in Lowell? Can you come in, as Mr. McHugh indicated, and take the paraprofessional training program, become a Lowell teacher, and someday aspire to become an administrator in this system? That's the issue. And that's what I think what we're all concerned about. Is there that opportunity? Are we making the opportunity happen? And if we're not, then we have to be. Now, Mr. Leary indicated that, yes, we have put into place a small opportunity for people to work up the career ladder. But I don't know if that's enough. Because when your staff has the perception that it is not possible for them to walk up the career ladder, then we as a committee have to figure out how to fix that. So it would be helpful, yes, to figure out where people come from, and it would be helpful possibly to sit down with the personnel subcommittee and figure out how do we get rid of the pervasive attitude, if there is a pervasive attitude, and if there isn't, how do we change it so that more of our people who work in the system, who dedicate themselves every day, can work their way up through the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy, I'm going to speak on this. Would you mind coming again?
Okay. 807, okay. 807.
Mayor Martin?
Yeah. Maybe I missed something, but I think what prompted this whole discussion was the assistant principalship at the Robinson School. Isn't that the position you talked about, for which was hired a Lowell resident? I mean, we hired somebody from Lowell, not from the system, from a different school system, but someone who lives here in the city. I think that's a good thing. There were other people in this pool that were from the system, but not from the city. So I think the judgment was made that we picked the best person. I think that should always be our emphasis, and we picked someone from the city. And from that, we have this half-hour discussion of how we never hire anyone from the city. Yet that's what we just did. So maybe I missed something. But I think part of this is the symptoms of this are also what happens when people don't get the school choice that they like. There were 4 people in this panel. There were at least double that, I presume, that were screened initially, maybe even more, 8 to 10 people. Only 1 got the job. So we have, 8 or 9 disappointed applicants who are not going to be happy and are going to complain. And if you pick someone from outside the system, they're going to say, oh, geez, we always go outside the system. If you pick someone from outside the city, oh, we always go from outside the city. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, I think it is good that we have competition for these jobs and that we're trying to get the very best people, but I don't quite understand how when you hire somebody from the city, it prompts a discussion of how we never hire anyone from the city. I guess I just missed all that. I'm fully supportive of getting these reports. I'd like to see statistics. One case doesn't make an answer, but that's the case that prompted this discussion tonight, and it's somebody who we hired from the city. So I think that point should not go unnoticed here.
Any further discussion, Ms. Martin?
I would just like to say that, I do think it makes sense to have the Personnel Subcommittee take a look at this. And I think that as my colleagues have mentioned, I mean, there are times when we deal with perception, and then there are also, thankfully, times when we deal with substance. And I think to take a look at the substantive facts will be extremely instructive. And I think that certainly I know no one on the school committee and no one in this city wants to have our hiring process be driven by anything other than our desire to have the best, most capable, most talented teachers, administrators, custodians, paraprofessionals in our classrooms each and every single day. I mean, there really is, that's the only, kind of guiding principle to our hiring, is ensuring that we do invest in the very best. I think our students deserve nothing less than that, and I think we all certainly agree to that. And I think that when we talk about some of the programs we've put in place, and it certainly starts with the paraprofessional program. It goes straight through the hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years that have been invested in professional development for our teaching staff, for the additional investments that have been made in our administration. And again, throughout our district, we are a district that values our staff, and that, we show it in the money we invest in them. And I think the desire to want to retain quality staff, to want to give them the opportunity to continue to grow and develop, is something that I have certainly felt, from my perspective as a school committee member, from my conversations with staff. And I think that it's something that certainly needs to continue. And I think the opportunity to look at some data on this certainly could be helpful. To give us a better sense of what we're, the kind of the lay of the land. But I don't think, and I don't for a moment think anyone on the committee is advocating it, but I don't think that we're looking to change the driving concern in our hiring practices to some kind of geography or anything else. That we all remain committed to the idea that the students in the city and the citizens of the city of Lowell require us to hire the most talented and most capable individuals to do this important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion to accept the personnel report by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. We have also on the superintendent's agenda the list of eligible teachers. Any discussion on that?
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Leahy, second by Ms. Faticante. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That report is approved. Next item, I think, is new business. First is Lowell hosting the MASC Urban Division meeting on English language learners. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, Committee Member Doherty has been in contact with the leadership of the Mass Association of School Committees about the needs of English language learners, and as a result of that contact, we've been invited to host the MASC Urban Division meeting on educating English language learners since the passage of Question 2. So it is recommended that the committee as a whole accept that invitation to host this meeting in October and direct me to work with the Executive Director of MASC, Glenn Kuchar, to identify a date and location that would meet their needs and our calendar.
Okay. Ms. Doherty.
I'd just like to add that this will not incur any costs to the Lowell school system. We host it, but they come, they pay for any food or anything that's involved in the seminar, having people come and speak. I also see it as an honor that we've been asked to host, because I think that MASC recognizes that when you look statewide at how our English language learners are doing on the standardized tests, they obviously need help. When you look at how Lowell compares to the rest of the state, we've got a history of doing a better job of educating our English language learners, of exceeding state standards in this area. So I think it kind of recognizes our success in this area, and that we all need to work together and kind of share best practices to do a better job of meeting the needs of these students. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I just make one comment that since they do host and pay for catering of the lunch, I would suggest that if it were held maybe at the high school, if the high school was up to catering it, maybe they could be asked to do that. If it's something that they don't do on the weekends, then that's fine, but the
Just to cover it.
lost for words, the restaurant does a great job there, and if they would like to cater it, if that's acceptable, that'd be a nice touch too. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Motion to accept the report, adopt the recommendation by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Faticante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay, the next item under new business is China Exchange. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the China Exchange is a foundation-supported program that fosters exchange between American schools in the United States and schools in China. And we've been invited to participate in the China Exchange. The first part of it would involve initially the shadowing project, which involves an administrator from the United States school. In this case, it would be the superintendent of schools, me, traveling to China, and a counterpart from China coming to Lowell and to learn about education in the United States and also about U.S. education in general. I think this is a program that could open the doors for some resources for an exchange between Lowell and a school district in China, and that we are eager to explore possibilities for advanced language study, of some broadening the opportunities for our youngsters to learn languages beyond those that we're currently able to offer. Mandarin Chinese is one that we're interested. Steve Jarvis at the high school is interested in exploring ways to introduce. So the opportunity and the contact made through this exchange, I think, has potentially great benefit for the Lowell Public Schools, and I'm seeking authorization to participate. There would be no cost to the Lowell Public Schools. The administrator from from China would be here in the late fall, would be in New York, Washington, Boston, and then would spend 5 days here in Lowell. They're interested in Lowell in part because we have an unusual arrangement where we have a K-12 public school system, we have a charter school, which is a different kind of innovation here in the United States. We have a vocational technical school, we have a community college, and we have a university. So they're interested in seeing that part of the whole education system, and they're looking to match where I would go to a district that has a similar complexity to it. So I would anticipate that in the fall, when the administrator from the district in China comes here, there'd be opportunity to involve those other institutions in the visit, and then I would go in the spring. It would be a week over the April vacation and the week before that.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
Just quickly, the first information, Madam Superintendent, I received on this was on Friday, and I think over the weekend, just digesting some of the, well, just reading the 4-paragraph letter, I know this is a revised one. I think on the surface, open up communication with China on a local level is important. I don't have any, that's not my issue. I think my issue is, I don't think we need to make a decision right here tonight. I think what I'm going to do is, and I think there's a lot of questions regarding how we're going to format our representation over there. What do we expect to learn back? I know we got some brief information regarding the department head on languages that we should be working on to be competitive, not only to get into schools like Bentley, where have you, because if a lot of folks know that are trying to apply to Bentley, knowing Mandarin Chinese or taking that in high school is pretty imperative. It gives you a leg up on folks. So I think the goal, the concept of itself is a good one. I think there's more questions that I have personally before I can simply approve it tonight. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea, and I don't think that you would be an inappropriate representation. I think you would be appropriate, but I would, and after saying that, I would say that I make a substitute motion that we refer this to the curriculum subcommittee. We could meet easily, and I guess in September, we're going to have other issues. I don't think this will take a long time to discuss and really get a format and a game plan as to what this is really all about. And I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion to refer to curriculum subcommittee by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Fattacante. Madam Superintendent, you.
It's my understanding that the decision would need to be made by September 5th because it does hinge on establishing, identifying a counterpart administrator in China, and for a visit that they would be making, there'd be a group of about a dozen school administrators from China that would be participating all at the same time. There'd be a dozen Massachusetts administrators. So this can't delay past September 5th for a decision.
Ms. Fattacante?
Thank you, Your Honor. I spoke to the superintendent about this because I had some grave concerns, and here's what I said to her. She found someone to pay for it, and because I did not want any money for this trip coming out of the local budget. But I said to the superintendent, if she wanted to go, she should take her vacation time. That I don't begrudge her wanting to go on this trip. I don't, if she wants to as a personal and a professional benefit, by all means, go, but take vacation time. I'm going to echo something Mr. Leary said, and one of the things that Mr. Leary said was, we have not had any substantial conversation whatsoever amongst this committee about other languages we would include in the foreign language program at this high school. Now, all of a sudden, to have this dropped on my desk, what makes us think that Chinese is the best language to now start teaching? It might be another foreign language, but we don't know that. But the superintendent is indicating that Chinese is it. And what if it's not Mandarin? What if it's Cantonese? So for the superintendent to indicate that this is the be-all and end-all program for us, I can't buy that. I don't see the benefit. I see the benefit of us having a discussion with the high school subcommittee about languages that we're going to teach, and maybe including Chinese in that discussion, but I don't see the benefit in this. And I'm going to bring it up again. I know it's a sore spot, but we spent a lot of time and effort to send the superintendent to Cambodia, and nothing came of that. And the superintendent on the phone said to me, oh, but there's a big group behind all this. Well, there was a big group behind going to Cambodia, too, and nothing came of it. And you blamed it on the city. Well, I can blame it on this other group that nothing will come of it also. I cannot vote in favor of sending the superintendent on our dime, because it will be our dime if she goes and she doesn't take her vacation time. It will be our dime, and I cannot see us, at this point in time, allowing that to happen. If the superintendent would like to take vacation time and go, by all means, by all means. But I cannot support this.
Ms. Martin?
Just a couple quick things. First off, I do think that if we do want to continue the discussion and have the curriculum subcommittee, talk about the curriculum aspects of this, some decision-making around Chinese and some investigations in that area as a potential for expansion for our foreign language program, we could certainly schedule that so that we could be able to have a definitive decision by the 5th. So given the timing, we would be able to make that happen. Secondly, I mean, I will say that, I understand that that we're looking at this, I think, from a couple different perspectives. And I have to say, from a very personal one, and it's only because I know children who've had this exposure in their elementary school. There was a focus on Chinese, and they went through their entire elementary career learning Chinese, and it was really, it had a huge impact on not only their understanding of that one particular culture, but in a much more expansive way. It had a real impact on their understanding of the world, and it really, I was very impressed with it when I hadn't expected to be. So just in terms of looking at this, I am excited about the prospect that we could do this. I mean, I think and especially, I mean, you can't listen to the news for 5 minutes without hearing about how China is the burgeoning superpower, and that an understanding of that culture and an appreciation of that language is certainly going to be of huge importance to anyone entering into economic endeavors now and in the next 20, 40 years. So I do think that it's an interesting idea, and I can see the value as we move forward of having this kind of an exchange. I do understand that we need to make sure that, we come back to it all the time, that there is something of substance that comes not only from this exchange, but from the conversations we have around it. That, we've all, as professionals, attended conferences. I'm kind of equating it to that. Some are extraordinarily helpful and have great information, and some, do not. And, a huge part of the value is based on the way that they are structured and the kind of substance that they have as part of them. And a huge part of that also comes from, what an individual is willing to put into it in terms of, their own interest and enthusiasm for whatever the topic area may be. I think the idea of having an opportunity to discuss this more would be of value so that we could, come to a definitive decision in time for your deadline so we don't hold anything up. So I think the idea of bringing this to the curriculum subcommittee has value, and I would support that. But I mean, just overall, I think the idea of having this kind of exposure and expertise in the person of our superintendent would be of huge value to us. And I think that, and for that reason, I mean, I'm excited about the prospect and what it might mean for our district. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh?
Thank you. The overall concept, I think I'm in favor of it. I think it's a chance but I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm not looking at the language. I'd be more concerned about their math and science, about the curriculum. How long are their school days? What are they doing differently? If they're becoming the emerging, you hear all the time that people are saying, well, these are the ones that are really excelling in math and science. I'd be more concerned about what are they doing compared to what we're doing. And I mean, actually, one of the things I did write a note when I saw this was, I would ask that we get a formal report back from the superintendent when she returns, if we're going to allow this to happen, explaining all this to us, and then probably a brief presentation at the school committee, because I think the public needs to know what's going on when we're sending someone on a distant, 2-week, I'd say a chance to, see another culture as well as see how their school system. But I'm more concerned about that, not so much the language issue, because I think in reality, as Ms. Faticani said, I don't think we're going to be teaching Chinese in our school. I think we tried a world language. It's something I brought up years ago. I think it's something I'd still like to see. Budget cuts took it away. It just doesn't work. We're not going to ever have the money, I think, to see something like that come back. I'd like to see it someday, because I believe It is a world economy. And that's what we need to be focusing on to make our children ready for that. And, you know, they can do business internationally, not just, you know, we're not talking Merrimack Valley anymore. We're not talking with the United States. We're talking international business. I mean, I know someone that's going on that just graduated this year personally who's going to, the mayor like going to Holy Cross, and that's what he's majoring in, international business. He can speak 3 languages. So the language piece is important. I just think it's going to be tough for us to get back to where we need to be, but I think international business and how you're going to work throughout the world is very important. But I think to get that, you need to understand what are they doing differently if they're excelling in certain areas, and how can we take that back? That's the piece I'd be concerned about. What curriculum piece can we put into our system to enhance our system? And I think that is moving in the right direction to enhance that. So from with that concept, I think it's a great idea. I guess I would be surprised and to receive something on a Friday. I'm sure there's been a dialogue about this for some time that we probably should have had this maybe at the last meeting as a discussion point, would have voted this meeting. So I'm not against it, but I just, you know, last minute, I've said it from the prior superintendent as well as you, Madam Superintendent, I just don't like getting things at the last minute. I think it's important that we have these questions, have these dialogues, and if we had it at the last meeting, even if you weren't here, at least we could have had a dialogue, set the meeting up, or set a meeting up to float this idea that this is something I'm interested in. Let's go to a subcommittee meeting to have this discussed, then can bring it forward as a committee. We can talk about it as a unified voice that we've all have all the questions answered, we have all the information, and we're not saying we just got to take a vote tonight to be pushed into making a decision. I mean, as a suggestion, I mean, it's up to the rest of the committee to decide, is we could always approve it pending the outcome of that personnel subcommittee to look at it from the curriculum subcommittee, if that's a wish of the makers of the motion. If not, I mean, we'll have to vote on the motion. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to add, when I first read about it, I was concerned initially with the cost, but when we got the adjusted memo that explained the foundation was going to pay for all the costs of the trip and the conference, it wasn't going to come out of the local budget, I really wasn't as concerned about the time away, because I think that my experience with the superintendent, she takes the responsibility of her job very seriously. Things are going to be taken care of when she's not here. And this is a learning opportunity that I think, as was said earlier, we need to make sure we have some outcomes in place before the trip, but I see a great benefit for us as a school district. We are in a global economy. I think Lowell, more than any other school district I know of, truly is a diverse school system. We are an immigrant city. And the idea of really looking and learning and being part of this exchange, I think would be of value to us, but I think we do need to be clear. As I recall, we've had discussions, even in the last few months, about staff we've sent that we've paid to go to seminars, whether it was out in California or down in Florida, that we said maybe we should get some kind of report or something. So it is something we've thought about in the past, even in situations where we're paying for the person to attend a conference. This is an opportunity that won't cost us anything but the superintendent's time, and I think that there's a lot that could be gained from it. But I agree that we need to look at what are some specific outcomes we'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Federicanti?
Thank you. In order for the discussion to have got to the point where we got a letter on Friday, there had to have been weeks of discussion that the superintendent was engaged in with this organization. For us to get it on Friday and to be asked, to be forced to try to make a decision before September 5th is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And we have all had this big discussion now about there's no cost to the local budget. Is this company paying for the superintendent's salary while she's going to be gone for 2 weeks? And the answer is no. We are going to be paying for the superintendent's salary. We are an immigrant city. And as I spoke to the superintendent this afternoon, I said to her very clearly, Chinese is not a primary language spoken in this city. And if she knows about any sudden immigration coming to Lowell where that is going to be the case, then by all means, that we should be looking at this. But it's not. So we should be focusing on languages that are currently spoken here. And my colleague is right. China is on the news every minute of every day because the product recalls that have been occurring from their country have been astronomical. So yes, we're reading about China every day. And again, if the superintendent wants to go, then the superintendent should take vacation time, and therefore it will not truly cost the district a dime of district money for the superintendent to go to China.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? The motion to move the question, the motion is to refer this matter to the curriculum subcommittee for a report back. Right. Is a request for a roll call on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter is referred to the curriculum subcommittee. The last item on the agenda, I believe, is under communications, a communication from Celebration of Life, the Jamaican Stuffed Animal Drive. Motion to accept the communication, place on file by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Leahy. Did you want to speak on it, Mr. Leahy?
Yes, on the communication?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, because of my surfing injury, I wasn't here last month. So I did want to say thank you on behalf of Father Greg for all the stuffed animals that were collected this year. We actually had a very successful year with all the food and so many animals. We couldn't fit all the stuffed animals in one container, so we had to locate another container and ship down about 100 bags of stuffed animals. So we just wanted to say thank you. Every year, people in the Lowell school system are very generous, and the kids from Jamaica truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved.
We have one more communication, and it was the letter from the City of Medford Mayor McGlynn about the, okay. So I'm going to give the letter to the recording secretary, and it will be on our next agenda because it actually does have some merit.
Okay. Okay. Motion to adjourn by
Motion to
Ms.
adjourn.
Doherty, second by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.